Yo, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the next matchup here in the Western Conference. We have the number one seeded team in the Pacific Division, the Calgary Flames, taking on the Dallas Stars in this year's postseason. Guys, it's been a pretty good season here for the Calgary Flames. And you know what? The Dallas Stars, who really struggled out of the gate, they had a tough start to this season. They've come back and actually made a pretty interesting season, made a lot of noise in the second half of the season. They were talking about selling off John Klingberg. They were talking about selling off all these guys. And here are the Dallas Stars. They went from way out of the playoff picture to all the way back in. They had a really strong January, February, maybe a little bit into March. They've struggled a little bit since then, but they made up enough ground where they could just sneak their way into the postseason. They have a really tough matchup here as the first wild card team, though. Yeah, they don't have to play the Colorado Avalanche, but they have to deal with the Calgary Flames. This is not going to be an easy matchup for them. So you look at the head-to-head matchup during the regular season. It's in favor of the Calgary Flames. The Flames are 2-0-1. That's right. They have picked up a point and at all three of their matchups against the Stars. The Stars, meanwhile, are 1-2. So they did get a win against the Calgary Flames. But it's been a pretty rough road against them during the regular season. Definitely in favor of Calgary. So give a little edge to the Flames right off the bat. Special teams, kind of interesting here. I mean, it's not really that big of a difference. But the Calgary Flames are top 10 in both penalty kill and power play. They are number 10 on the power play, number 6 on the penalty kill. And the Dallas Stars are not too far behind, 11th in the NHL for their power play and 19th in the NHL for penalty kill. So that'll be an interesting matchup between, really it's going to be the Dallas Stars power play versus the Dallas Stars power play versus the Flames penalty kill. That's going to be the real special teams matchup to look at. Goals for and goals against, top 6 in both categories for the Flames. They're 6th in the NHL for goals for. Again, a very Daryl Sutter defensive-minded team. For a team that's very defensive-minded, they do score a lot of goals, 6th in the league. And they're also 3rd in the NHL for goals against. A lot of that is on the back of their goaltender, Jacob Markstrom, who has had an incredible season, especially in the first half. He has been very good. And the Dallas Stars are kind of middling in those categories for themselves. 21st in the NHL for goals for and 14th in the NHL for goals against. So again, kind of middle of the pack for the most part. In terms of guys to watch, definitely Johnny Hockey for the Calgary Flames. He's coming into a contract season. He's up for a new deal this summer. So you know he's motivated. He doesn't need much motivation, right? He's going to get that big ticket this summer. He could really follow that up really nicely here with a good playoff performance that would definitely raise his dollar value on the open market. Whether he stays in Calgary or goes elsewhere, he's going to make some more cash if he takes the Flames on a good run this year. Joe Pavelski, guys, for a guy that is in his, mid to late 30s now, Joe Pavelski's been incredible for the Dallas Stars. He, too, is on a contract year. He already signed his next contract to stay in Dallas, so congratulations. He will be extended with the Dallas Stars. But Joe Pavelski's been incredible for this team. And, you know, sort of a guy when they signed him, I was thinking, oh, he's going to be injured for at least half of that contract and probably won't play very much. Not the case at all. Really shows what Joe Pavelski is as a person, as a player. He wants to play. He's got that love of the game. And if anything, and this is no discredit to the San Jose Sharks organization, I think he's been better since he left the San Jose Sharks and came to Dallas. Really good fit for Joe Pavelski and the Dallas Stars, and has been a key part in this team's success this season. So like I said, looking at the teams individually, the Calgary Flames, like I said, dominant in the series overall, head-to-head this year. That definitely favors them. They have solid special teams overall. Like I said, 6th in the NHL in terms of goals for, 3rd in the NHL for goals against. So that is their bread and butter, is their defense. And just their defensive game in general. They score a lot of goals, but they're very defensively sound, like I just mentioned. And here's another thing, and I just talked about this when I talked about the St. Louis Blues in their matchup with the Wild. This Calgary Flames team is a team built for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Yes, they did well during the regular season, but this is a playoff caliber team in the regard that they can grind you down. And the longer this series goes on, Not that I think this series will go on for very long. Calgary just has that ability to just really just crush their opponent. Dallas does have some big boys on their team. Definitely most notably Jamie Benn. But I think Calgary just has that bread and butter. Like, they remind me a lot of the Islanders over the last 2 years. They get a new head coach in, and they just, to a T, are able to execute what they need to do from their head coach. The buy-in from their team is incredible, and it's very similar to the last 2 years Islanders, and maybe not this year, because the Islanders have struggled this year, kind of fell away from that system, right? But Calgary's been able to do that and just grind their opponents down night after night after night. And not to mention, Jacob Markstrom, as good of a season as he's had, I think he will be a Vezina finalist for goaltender of the year. He might not win it. I do think that will go to Shesterkin, but he's definitely in the running for that. Had the most shutouts during the regular season for the Flames. And Markstrom is going to be very difficult. And if he is hot going into this series, he gets a good game 1 or 2. He's able to steal games in this series. I think this could be interesting. For the Dallas Stars, they had a really solid second half of the season. Like I mentioned, they struggled out of the gate. They really played well, really during the dog days of the season, which are really the toughest, right? It's easy to be motivated in the beginning of the season and the end of the season, right? Right before the playoffs, that playoff push. But they were able to do it in January, February, March. I saw them in Philly. I think it was February. And they looked really solid in Philly. So that's kind of what you're looking at with the Stars. But again, they do give up lots of goals. And that is something that I do look at when you're looking at probably Jake Ottinger starting game 1. I assume that's what they're going to go with here. That is still a little bit concerning. We haven't really seen much of him in the postseason. So I do have my qualms about that. With that said, though, who takes this series? Now, again, we aren't far removed from the Dallas Stars team that kind of had that Cinderella run. They went to the 2020 Stanley Cup Finals up against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the playoff bubble. They do have some experience there. Calgary, they've been kind of that team that maybe gets into the second round and kind of just fades out. But here, listen, I think Calgary's different this year. Between these two teams, God, I love these jerseys. They both have unbelievable jerseys. Calgary's been good this year. But you know what? Dallas, listen, the underdog sometimes can kind of take you by surprise. But not this time. Not this time, guys. We're going from the Alberta boys. The boys in Western Canada. The Calgary Flames take this series. And you know what, guys? I look tanner in this Calgary Flames jersey, which just makes it all the more sexy. Calgary Flames are winning this series in 5 games. I think Jacob Markstrom can steal at least 2 games in this series. The Dallas Stars defense has looked spotty. They did have a really tough start to the regular season, so it makes you wonder, which is the real Dallas Stars team? That team we saw in the dog days of the regular season, or the team that we saw maybe toward the end of the season and at the beginning of the season? That's going to be a testament here. They have a really tough opponent here in the Calgary Flames. They are playoff ready. You've been watching them the last couple weeks. They are a tough team to play against. They are a team that is built for this. They are built for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think they will grind down the Dallas Stars, and I have the Calgary Flames winning this series. It's going to be a quick one. I think they're going to win this in 5 games. Guys, that is it for today's video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think of this matchup? Jake Ottinger versus Jacob Markstrom. And who do you have winning this series? How many games? Let me know. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And let's go Flames.